Hello, how are you doing today? Look at the screen. Minorities in Nigeria were greatest victims of Biafra Republic declared by the late Ojukwu. This is according to US-based professor called Atman. That's the person you are seeing on the screen. Did you get that? Minorities. Now, is it the minorities in the eastern region or including the northern side of the country? We need to look at this. Can you imagine what we're hearing? And again, when we talk about Biafra, it seems as if it's an Igbo thing. Because of the way other nationalities that were formerly part of the Biafra, the way they react to it, as if it's about Igbos, it's Igbo business, let them carry on with their business. But is that so? Now look at what the professor in the United States is saying. The minorities in Nigeria were greatest victims of Biafra Republic declared by the late Ojukwu, a US-based professor. And whenever you see something begin to be propounded by intellectuals, it will be very dangerous because these are the people that has the power for mind control. They have what it takes. They will write books, certainly, and they will spread it. And this again makes me to ponder on what a particular guy has always told me. There are actually few that are of this particular view. He said, Igbos, we better look forward to an Igbo nation, a homogeneous Igbo nation, and not Biafra of the whole East. Okay, for example, let me show you the map. Here is the map of Biafra. Here is the supposed map of Biafra. The eastern region, as at that time, Ojukwu declared Biafra. But if you look at some maps, you realize they have begun to carve out certain parts. Meanwhile, I'm not saying everybody is doing this. So there are some other people who still believe, but there is a great work to do. Or Igbos better look for an Igbo nation. Okay, let me show you another map, and you see the adjustment they are beginning to do. Or some are already going with it. Let's see. Here is another map. You saw this map. Look at the curve on the map. That is the area that will tell you southeast, predominantly Igbo speaking. Meanwhile, there are Igbos in every part of the east. In fact, the dominant language in every part of the east is Igbo. Go to River State, almost 60% speaks a dialect that is an Igbo dialect. Now look at the map. As you can see, the red stuff. Look at the red stuff. So, like I said, this guy suggested to me, he said the best thing we do is start looking for an Igbo nation. Yes, Igbo speakers. They're not limited to Southeast, but Igbo speakers. And that is why I support this guy, Namen TV, in his Unify Igbo project. I so much support him. I like what he's doing. Let's look for Igbo speakers. Let's ignore every other people. Because there's a common saying, Mmadekbo is like Ajana Gare. Don't look for people who doesn't want you. You don't beg for friendship or somebody to be your brother. No. You don't waste your time on people who are not serious. They think it's about oil. Let me now tell you. Oil is in every part of Nigeria, including the north that you think they have nothing. You saw the discovery. It was huge. more than 1 billion barrel in the Gongola Basin. Imagine what will be if they want to really explore Alibo further. The whole land is oil. And you think it's all about your oil. Igbos want you to pull out with them so that they dominate you. Because that is the major thing in what this professor I'm going to talk about is saying. That is the crux of his argument. And he's talking about suppression too. The major thing, suppression, that we suppress them, that they are the ones that are at loss during the Biafran War. We will get to that. Let me scroll to that place again before I start reading a report on him. That is the professor. Said minorities in Nigeria were greatest victims of Biafra Republic declared by late Ojukwu, US-based Professor Apam. Which minorities? Minorities in the south, okay, in the east, or every other minority in Nigeria. Because as far as I know, Ojukwu declared that independence to avert more further bloodshed, avert the hatred that we are now seeing, that things we would have avoided. So I realize some of the Niger Deltans are our problem. And that is why I'm suggesting, alongside some few people, because only few people propound this view, that Igbos should look for a homogeneous Igbo nation. Meanwhile, let's look at what this professor is saying. Like we know, Biafra declared independence in 1967, and it lasted until 1970 when it collapsed. So this New York Times best-selling author and professor of creative writing at the University of Florida, Uwem Apam, that sounds Cross River, Akwa Ibom. He described the Biafra Republic that failed, and which was declared by Ojukwu in 1997 as the greatest evil that beset the minorities of the Niger Delta. Okay, now, minorities of the Niger Delta. So he's trying to say the worst that has happened to them is the declaration of Biafra. So the Biafra is a bad omen for them. Biafra was, what Biafra brought to them was evil. This is from a professor who is supposed to be learned. Meanwhile, please note, viewers, I am not condemning him. He is entitled to his opinion. I am only saying Igbos can decide to go this thing, go their own way. Stop looking for people who are not looking for them. So he said the worst thing to happen to the Niger Delta minorities is Biafra, of the declaration of Biafra. Can you imagine? Meanwhile, who was Biafra second in command? Who was Biafra second in command? From the same area, from his town. Maybe his grandfather or somebody within the age of his father. So let's read. He said, its territory consisted, we're talking about Biafra, consisted of the predominantly Igbo populated then eastern region of Nigeria, which is now divided into southeast and south-south regions of Nigeria. Biafra was established on 30th May 1967 by Ojukwu under his leadership as the governor of the then eastern region of Nigeria, following a series of ethnic tensions and military coups after Nigerian independence in 1960 that culminated in the 1966 massacre of Igbo people and other eastern ethnic groups living in the north. Listen, who are those killed? Igbo people and other ethnic groups living in northern Nigeria. Ethnic groups that are from the eastern region. So, in other words, Ojukwu is trying to protect the eastern region, which he was governor prior to the war. Did you get that? Okay. Meanwhile, during an interview with Rudolph Okonkwo and in his 90 Minutes Africa, Professor Akpan argued that the Biafra narrative shaped by most Igbo writers over time was one-sided because it painted the Igbos as innocent victims of the war. He insisted that the minorities were the biggest victims of the crisis as they suffered the brunt from both Niger Delta and Biafra. Well, the fact is that I think the Igbos suffered more from the war, and the minorities also have their own share of this. And this professor also said something. Still, it has to do with the war. Those who were killed from the northern side are mainly minorities from the north. He said no one tells that story. It is always the Igbos who were killed in the north. The question now is, if both the Igbos and minorities were killed in the north, why were they not able to come back and form Biafra together? This is simply because even before the genocide in the north, the Igbos and the minorities were never together. Though they were all in the eastern region, the minorities always feel cheated. Professor Apam retreated. That is where I'm going. So, according to him, it's like it's all about Igbos. We cry foul for whatever pain that was faced during the war as if they were not part of it. There was never a time Igbos said they faced it alone. But the major casualties were on Igbos. There were targets, yes. When they gave River State, they gave their side, they said this is now River State, Port Harcourt. The heat on them reduced. Yes, the heat will reduce, certainly. They said River State is now part of Nigeria. The heat came down. There were many places that the Nigerian government targets to conquer. And I understand why this professor is saying this. It's simple that they are not interested. Somehow, yes, that's what he's trying to say. They are not interested. That's the sum of everything. That's what I'm trying to tell you. According to him, Biafra was a terrorist state. Can you imagine? Biafra was a terrorist state. It was hurtful to them, and it didn't do them any good. Igbos were just benefiting, enjoying in the Biafra. That's what he's trying to say. And in other words, he's trying to say maybe a future Biafra should not include them. So basically, this professor is talking about minorities suffering. And if you come to the eastern region, they see themselves as the minorities, and Igbos are the majority. And if you go to the north, Hausa is the majority, and there are other ethnicities in the north that are like the minorities. So he said they suffered more, that the war did more harm to them. And in other words, he's trying to say they are not interested in anything Biafra that we want to talk about. They are not ready for anything called Biafra. Let's read a part of that interview by Rudolph. Now, listen carefully, please. He said, in the riots that engulfed the North, at least a third of those killed were minorities. No one tells that story. It is always the Igbos who were killed in the North. The question now is, if both the Igbos and minorities were killed in the North, why were they not able to come back and form Biafra together? This is simply because even before the genocide in the North, the Igbos and the minorities were never together. That's Igbos and the Niger Deltas, probably that's what he's trying to say. He said, though they were all in Eastern region, the minorities always feel cheated. Professor Akpan retreated. Are you getting that? For those who are, let's begin to think, because people feeling cheated, they feel you want to take their this and that, feeling you want to take their this and that. They are already trying to tell you this is our position. So according to this award-winning author, the minorities did not want Biafra. Did you get that? He said the Igbos under Ojukwu went out of their way to block the creation of minority states. They imposed Biafra on minorities. The Igbos were thus engaged in two wars, fighting against big-time Nigeria and fighting against small-time minorities. The minorities were massacred by the Biafrans. A place in Sagbama, in Ejo land, even has a festival celebrating the fact that they survived Biafra. And there are few other places like that in minority lands. Did you get that? Did you see how these people feel? I am not saying they are wrong to feel that way, but I'm trying to let you understand their position. So Igbos should know what they want, what they are looking forward to, and who will go with them. Let's concentrate on our areas that really matters. Let's stop dragging everyone along. Let's not trying to, Niger Delta, Queen. No. Look for Igbo speakers. These guys, they don't believe in your Biafra. Some of them does not believe it. And just like I said, he is entitled to his opinion. And he is right to have any kind of opinion he chooses to have. And he could be right. I am not here to dismiss his claim, but I'm trying to tell you how they feel and why we should concentrate on what will work and forget about what will not work. I'm not trying to say there are no Niger Deltans that believe Biafra, but what about the majority? I think even if we want to work, let's work with Igbos of the Southsouth and not trying to pull the whole Southsouth on our side. Okay, let's go. Now, he said, he went on. Rudolph challenged him. Rudolph said, okay, you said that you never wanted Biafra, some of you, but there are some part of you, some people among you that wanted that Biafra. And the professor replied, he said, there would always be individual within the colonized who accepted and are part of any colonization project. And before I forget, that's what he said. Igbos are fighting Nigeria and are fighting the minorities. And don't be surprised. These people could say they felt the pain inflicted on them by the Igbos than what the Nigerian side did to them. And are they ready to forgive? Igbos, know what you want. No, this program is for Igbos to know what is on ground and what they must do. And you see what Asari and the rest are doing. I think that should begin to send some signals to us. It's not a must to make them part of Biafra. If you try persuasion, you've tried other means, and you see they are trying to mare the whole thing. Look for an Igbo nation, first within Nigeria, then we grow, we know the next step forward. I am not against Southsouth for choosing such a position. They know why they chose the position. They have made up their minds. And don't be surprised that this view of this professor is the majority view there. I'm not against the Biafra project with Southsouth. I'm only proffering solution. This is a recent interview, and a lot of people watched it. That we forced them that they were not, they are not really interested in Biafra. He said only few individuals within the colonized will accept to be part of the colonization project. And he made a point again. It's like more of the pains they were inflicted on them were from the Biafra side, that they have a remembrance for that. Now, look at another thing he said. He said, today, almost all Igbos say they want Biafra. But have you heard the minorities say they want Biafra? You can mention individuals in the minority, this is according to him, who would support Biafra. But there is no groundswell of support like you have in Igbo land. The minorities have not forgotten how they were massacred in Biafra. Did you get him? He said the Western press did not cover the minority villages. In any case, he said there was some sort of understanding that if the Western press exposed what the Biafran soldiers were doing, Biafra would lose the little support it had. He said. So, this guy is an author and is a professor in the United States, and certainly he is known by his people, and there are many people that has this same view, and they are speaking with their people. So what is the essence of this video again? Igbos, know where you stand. Don't try to pull everybody. It's like a Biafra thing is all about Igbos. Others doesn't want it. So, like my friend would suggest, I would advise us focus on a homogeneous Igbo nation. First within Nigeria, let's work something out. Then, in a matter of time, I am so happy the discovery of huge deposit of oil in the north. We're hasting everything we are looking for. This is where I'll draw the curtain on this one. Add your comments on the comment section.